who spent his life saving hearts around the world. Okay, so this is not just another interview. This could be the conversation that saves your life or the life of someone you love. Prof, good morning once again.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Yes, good to have you in studio. But let me just find out, because reading a lot about your profile, I realize you are normally not based in Ghana. So like our people say, what brings you to Ghana this time around?
Oh, so obviously I was born here. My mother's still here. Mother's alive. My mother is the Queen Mother of Asante Vijuase.
Okay.
So yeah, coming back to see mum is an absolute priority. So I come back every 3 months or so to see her. But what I also do is I work with quite a few of the physicians here in Accra, particularly, sometimes in Kumasi as well, to do some of the heart operations. They do leave some of the stuff that one can consider a bit high end for me to come and do some of the more complex operations. So I also see patients that I got to know when I was in Ghana for 3 years working with Eurocare, which is from 2017 to 2020. I got to know quite a few people, and these are patients that I also come and see when I come here. So yeah, that's what brings me to Ghana. But I suppose I should add, finally, I really do enjoy coming to Ghana. I love it here. I see something called the sun, which I don't get to see very much of when I'm in the UK.
Yeah, particularly around this time.
Indeed. So it's wonderful. But yeah, listen, the truth is that I absolutely love coming to Ghana for lots of other reasons other than what I've just told you.
Okay, so before we get into anything, of course, you tell us more about yourself, because globally you're acknowledged as, a renowned cardiologist. So as an officer of the Order of the British Empire, that's in itself recognition of the good things you do. But for that person listening to us, but also because today a lot of people die from cardiovascular diseases, it tells us that it is not something that is distant like we considered in the past. What would be your tips for a good heart health?
Right. So I always say that it's actually a lot simpler than people make it out to be. I think if you listen to some doctors, you would think that this stuff is complicated. But actually, having a good cardiac health is fairly straightforward. There are different ways of looking at it, but the bottom line is you need to, we'll say, know your numbers. So particularly if you're born with a family history of heart disease, heart attacks and stroke, if you happen to be one whose parents have had heart attacks or strokes at a relatively young age, then you do know that you are at risk. Okay, and for these people, you have for such a person, you have to be even more cognizant of these numbers that I'm going to talk to you about. The bottom line is that there are 5 major risk factors, other than your family history, that come together, if you will, to produce heart attacks and strokes. And they are diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol levels, cigarette smoking, and obesity, which is basically your weight. Okay. And these risk factors have to be managed. So if you talk about your weight, the books would tell you about your body mass index, which is basically your weight over your height squared. You can calculate it yourself. It's really quite simple. And a BMI around 26, 27 is what you want to aim for. I know if you look at the books, they would some of the BMI figures that are quoted, that are branded about, I think, a bit harsh. But if you can keep it around that, then you're okay. If you take your cholesterol levels, depending on your risk, there are figures that you would need to be below. So below 3 generally. If you've had a heart attack before, then it's right down to your LDL, your LDL cholesterol will have to be below 1.4, for example. If you're not sure about these figures, just look them up online or ask your doctor. For blood pressure, again, it depends on your level of risk, but roughly 130/80, it's a pretty good number. Cigarette smoking is absolute. There are no numbers. You just simply should not smoke, full stop. So, and then after that, you can start breaking things down. For example, when it comes to your weight, how do you lose weight? Well, you do it by physical exercise and diet. And this stuff is no rocket science. You need a good, healthy diet. The books will talk about the Mediterranean diet, etc. Look things up. Ask the questions. What will be the best diet for you to be able to lose weight? Physical exercise. Honestly, my advice is that you can quote Martin Luther King Jr., who says, "If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, you need to keep on moving."
Yeah, but
I really like that.
That's where the other issue is also, Prof, because there's some who tell you, I mean, there are people who went to the gym sometimes where they were exercising and they died. So you would ask the question, why do I engage in something that could result in my death?
Okay, so let's be clear. There are people who have underlying genetic conditions. The classical ones tend to be something called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. There are also other. Well, it's a condition which makes it such that you are prone to electrical instability, and these conditions can lead to sudden death. So you would hear about people running, in a marathon and then will suddenly drop dead, or Patrice Muamba playing football, and other guys who played football and they've had electrical instability and dropped during the game. These are conditions that you really can't. They are not. These are rare conditions that are not ones that the general public should be concerned about. Okay. Clearly, if you have a family history of sudden death, that's something that you need to investigate. And conditions like hypertrophic cardiomyopathy can be diagnosed by doing simple things like an ECG and a heart scan. So if you have such a family history, then obviously you need to seek help. But for the rest of us, honestly, making sure that you're out there walking. I mean, I try and go for a walk every single day for an hour. You don't need to do that. All you need is that if you look at British Heart Foundation guidelines, for example, it talks about 30 minutes 4 times a week, and that's adequate. But seriously, the bottom line is whatever you can do, even if it's just walking around your house for 10 minutes, is better than doing nothing. And the studies looking at exercise and cardiovascular health is absolutely clear cut. You have several lines, and the more you exercise, the better it is. But doing something is better than doing nothing. So that's really the key message. You got to do something, and I don't care what it is, but you got to do something.
I like that. I like the fact that you have to do something. So for those of us who cannot run, we'll walk.
Correct. And if you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, you got to keep on moving.
Okay, great. So let's get into, you in particular, because look, I've been looking at your profile, and I realized that you have been practicing for decades as a cardiologist. But at what point did you decide to be a cardiologist?
Well, that would have been 1992. I had completed. Obviously, after medicine, you have to do something called the membership exams, and you have to do different specialties. And what I did was to interview all my bosses at the time. I remember it really well, and interviewed all the different specialties. And the cardiologist was the one who impressed me most. He talked about how varied cardiology was. There were so many different aspects of it. In terms of cardiovascular research at the time, it was really burgeoning, and there was lots of opportunity to do research. And he also made the point that you'll never be short of patients because it's the number one killer in the world. So, it's clearly a very good specialty to go into. and I've had no regrets at all. Specifically intervention, which is where you operate on patients with heart attacks and with angina, with chest pain and so on. That's obviously a very surgical aspect. And if you're, I guess, good with your hands and you like more practical things, then it's a very good specialty to go into.
Or if you're good with your hands, eh?
Yes, indeed.
Well, there are many of us who may be good with our hands, but I'm not sure we can get into that.
Well, if you're manually dexterous, there's then, yeah.
Okay. So you've talked about, how your Queen Mother in Santa Fe, Jersey. So we know where you come from.
Correct.
Let's look at you growing up. I know you went to Fanspim, right?
Correct.
Good. How was it, at that point when you went through secondary school? Had you always wanted to be a medical doctor?
Well, I did in the third year, in Form 3. A few of my friends and I were very much interested in going to the school dispensary to actually pray for the sick people in the dispensary. And I have to say that was the beginnings. I think that was as they say, green shoots of interest in medical things. I remember very clearly at the time thinking, I would so much love to be able to do something about these sick people that we'd gone in there to pray for.
Okay, so you went there to pray for them, but at some point you had the feeling that something more beyond prayer could be done for them.
Indeed. Because, God obviously uses doctors God uses means, doesn't he? Of course it can be, he doesn't have to, but generally he has designed to use means. He uses you and I and everybody else in their whichever specialty to do the good that he wishes to do on earth. So yeah,
I'm interested in that because it addresses a part of our situation as a country, because there are a lot of people who believe that the best way to be all right is through prayer. However, you, in praying for people, realized you should be a medical doctor.
Well, yes. I mean, as I say, God does use means, and He uses whichever profession you're in. God uses people to bring to pass His purposes. So whatever specialty you're in, you do. In the words of Paul, do your work well as unto the Lord and not unto men. So yeah, I mean, as a doctor, you do your very best for your patients to just make sure that you care for them as best as you can. But always very conscious that what you can do is limited, and we all every time I'm operating, I'm very, very conscious of how limited I am in terms of what I can achieve. And at the end of the day, God, who is not just the one who created, but He's also the one who holds the world together in His providence. And therefore, we are always very conscious that He's in charge, and we are not.
Oh, okay. You still believe in miracles?
I do. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely do.
Coming from you as a surgeon who says, okay, so at every point in time you still know that, well, God is still in charge. So you're just an instrument.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Now, you've talked about, coming into Ghana, and, when you come into Ghana, sometimes you come and perform surgeries. They leave some of these surgeries for you to come and perform, and you've performed surgeries around the world also. I'd want your view on something, because there are many who have said our healthcare delivery system is poor. Now, you've been around the world. What's wrong with healthcare delivery here
in Ghana?
Yes.
Well, there are different strata to that question, and it's not a very straightforward question to answer. I mean, I think all healthcare systems around the world, it doesn't matter what they are, have got issues. if I compare, for example, Ghana to the system that I'm used to in the UK, if a patient has a heart attack and you go to any UK hospital, you have from the time you get your heart attack to the time you get on somebody's table to open your heart arteries, it's actually measured. And as a hospital, if you fail, in 90 minutes, you're meant to go from your chest pain to somebody's table to have your arteries opened. I mean, in Ghana, if you have your heart attack and you go to any standard hospital here, there's some of the questions you're asked are, can you pay for it? And for example, lots of people, the type of treatment that you have depends on whether you can pay for it or not, because there is no national health, so to speak, where everything is taken care of. So whether you end up on somebody's table to be operated on depends on how much you can afford. So that's immediately that's an issue. That's a major issue, because if your health is in the UK is free at the point of need, here is not free at the point of need. It's whether you can afford it or not. So that immediately, that's an immediate massive issue for I dare say the majority of people in Ghana.
So costs is a major issue, but beyond that,
you'll have to think of equipment. Obviously, yeah. I mean, for various operations. I mean, I'll do various operations here. I'll ask for kit, and kit simply doesn't exist. And then you have to improvise and make do with what you've got. So yeah, I mean, kit is a major problem. Sometimes, of course, I mean, if I go to the so-called theatre where I work, which the cath lab where I work, there's far more expertise in terms of the ancillary staff surrounding me. They've got very highly trained ancillary staff, and that's obviously not the case here. I'm not saying that the staff here are not trained; they are, but in terms of subspecialties, it's really quite different. And also, way to have a complication in terms of who you call upon to the backup is also not as good. So one has to make do with what you've got. Thankfully, the vast majority of operations that I've done here have been very successful, thankfully. Yeah.
But these kits that you talk about, some of which you say are not available, how important are they to the procedure?
Well, that's a very complex question, I'm afraid, because there are things that are absolutely necessary, things that you can make do with, things that will enhance the procedure, etc., etc. And the truth is that you do the very best with what you've got. I mean, one of the advantages I've got is because I've been doing these operations for 33 years and been in healthcare for 41. When you've gained a vast amount of experience, you can, if you will, get away sometimes, judged by sheer experience. For example, in my subspecialty, there's a machine called intravascular ultrasound where you look into you take a camera into the artery to see exactly what's in there. Now, I don't have intravascular ultrasound in Ghana. However, because I've used it so many times in the UK, that and in other parts of the world, that informs what I do. And just using that experience actually helps me with my operations here, despite the fact that I don't have an intravascular ultrasound. So the answer to that question is rather nuanced, because I think I'm experienced enough to be able to give people a very, very good result. But would I use an intravascular ultrasound if I was doing the same patient in the UK? The answer is yes, I would. But I don't have it here, so I don't use it. Okay. But I still think that just by the sheer fact that I've used it so many times, that helps me get the best possible result in a patient that I would operate on here.
Okay. So in effect, yes, if you had it, it'd be better. But
Yes.
in the absence of that, you're able to improvise. So
Correct.
that's
Yes.
okay. Okay. But of course, we'd want to have that. We'd have that conversation later, because then it's always important to have the things that would make your work easier.
Yes.
Great. Let's get to other things. And I realized that, you've been around the world. I realize you are Officer of the Order of the British Empire, which is a great recognition. When were you honored?
2 years ago.
Okay.
It was a real honor, I must say. It was totally unexpected, and I was very grateful. I was honored with that. Yeah.
How did you feel when you got to know that you were due to be honored?
Ecstasy. Yeah. No, it was wonderful. I mean, they are only a tiny handful of people who get that honor, and certainly in the world of cardiology, I only know of three other people currently in the UK who have it. So it is, it's a rare honor, and so yeah, it's wonderful.
Great. Now let's talk about your life. From when you decided to get into cardiology and where you've been, because reading your profile, I realize you've been at the University of Wales. Okay, we know you were instrumental. You've been at Eurocare. You come to the University of Ghana Medical Center, UGMC, to perform surgeries. But tell us about your period at the University of Wales.
So yeah, I started working there in 2003. I was there as a general interventional cardiologist. I just worked as a general cardiologist, did lots of interventional procedures, did a fair bit of teaching, did some research, and then, subsequently honored with the Professor of Practice at the University of South Wales, and that was another piece of work that we can talk about if you so wish. But yeah, I mean, I worked there as a general interventional cardiologist. I had a subspecialty in sexual dysfunction, particularly in male erectile dysfunction, and that was also another major subspecialty. I did work on various aspects of cardiovascular health, like hypertension. I had a major interest in the chest pain service, in rapid access chest pain. There were several aspects of the work there. A lot of teaching, as I say. So yeah.
Let's look at your subspecialty in something that a lot of the boys will be interested in, erectile dysfunction. And you can see the young man here nodding and giving me thumbs up for bringing that up. Tell us what that involves.
Well, I was struck by the number of patients who would come to my cardiac clinic, and on their way out would say to me, "Doctor, by the way, I've got a problem, getting it up." And after a while, I thought there might be something in this. So I did a study back in the day in our cardiac rehab patients, looking at how many people had significant erectile dysfunction, and much to my surprise, 2 out of 3 of all our patients had ED. And so I went out to the world literature, looked it up, and realized that actually it was anything up to 75%. 3 out of 4 people with cardiovascular disease had some degree of erectile dysfunction, which was staggering, and that really led to my interest in the whole subject, and started having, along with other people, we had a very healthy clinic in South Wales, seeing all these cardiovascular patients who had erectile dysfunction. And then one day the penny also did drop that here I was opening heart arteries. If your artery is blocked, you get angina or heart attack. There's no blood flow to the heart, so you have a problem. And it just kind of dropped that perhaps people couldn't get it up because they had blockages, blood supply to the penis, and that kind of sparked my major interest, and happy to say I pioneered the what we call intervention in opening up the arteries to the penile organs. To the penis, so that was a major interest.
Okay, I'm interested in something because a lot of the young men, the boys here, would drink all manner of things just to have erection. Sometimes they tell you if you take this, it will help, but you are introducing another thing, which for me is important, because we're told that part of our problem here is that a lot of young men, drink all manner of things which kill them. Okay. Morning, we're here with Professor Nicholas Ossei-Gerning, who is an interventionist, cardiologist. He's helping us through his life and what he's achieved. He's also Officer Order of the British Empire. That's the one I like the most. The fact that when you achieve, you're recognized. Prof, so let's get into. Before we went for the break, I was asking the question about erectile dysfunction and issues of the heart, because here, and I'm sure by now you may have heard a lot of the advertisements about all our herbal medicine is actually related to sexual performance, but you are introducing us to something totally different. How's that the case?
Well, you've got to distinguish between two things. If you're a healthy male, you don't need any enhancement. After as you get older, perhaps over the age of 50, maybe 55, sexual performance reduces, and that can then be enhanced. There is a bit of a fine line between the decline in sexual function and sexual performance and actually erectile dysfunction, which is the inability to achieve satisfactory sexual performance. And that's, erectile dysfunction per se is it's a quote unquote illness, is a disease, is something that is that can be corrected because there is a major problem as opposed to a natural decline, if you know what I mean. But a 25-year-old boy who's got normal sexual function wanting to quote unquote enhance because they want to carry on having sex for 1 hour because they think that by boosting their sexual performance they'll be able to perform better. That is potentially actually quite dangerous, and it's not something that I would advocate at all. But if you're a 55-year-old, you're starting to have a decline in your sexual function and trying to boost it with a drug, I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. But the business that I'm involved in is slightly different, and it's people who have real issues. They are diabetic, they are hypertensive, they've had heart attacks, they've had strokes, whatever, and they have an inability to actually get an erection, or when they get it, it just literally disappears very quickly. Those are the people that I set up my clinic for, and those are the people that I try to help.
Okay, now let's get back to something, because earlier we're talking about your life in secondary school. I'm told you're part of Joyful Way Incorporated.
That's correct. Yes, and I did play the piano for Joyful Way when I was at Infansfam, and that was a very, very happy time indeed. More recently, the last time in London, there was a show which I joined and played the piano again, but that was a few years ago. I haven't had any program joined them in any programs very recently, but yeah, I still consider myself a very proud associate of Joyful Way.
And you still miss the playing days?
I still play. No, I still play. I still play the piano. I mean, I don't play in any group at the moment, but I certainly play for pleasure, and I'm a proud owner of two keyboards, and still play. Absolutely.
Okay. And you have a daughter who was in the Game of Thrones?
Yeah, yes. So my daughter Eva was the young Rhaena Targaryen in the House of Dragons, which is the prequel to Game of Thrones, and yeah, she's my daughter, and that was pretty good.
I like that. I like the smile on your face.
Yeah.
That the joy that brings to you. One would expect that your daughter probably would take after you and get into medicine, or you say anything you want to do.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, as a parent, what you want is for your children to, one, be happy, but two, to excel in what it is they are good at. You certainly don't want to box them into anything that they don't want to do. I've got, I've got a son who's doing mathematics. My second son actually, as it happens, wants to do medicine, and he's doing his A-levels at the moment. But I've certainly not specifically advised any of my kids to go into medicine at all. But,
Why?
It's a pretty brutal specialty, at least in the UK. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of brutal man hours, and especially if you're doing interventional cardiology like I did, where you're up a lot of the night operating on heart attacks. It's not something that you particularly want to advise any of your children to go into. And as a result, it does affect your family life because you're always tired, you're never there, etc., etc., etc. It's a brutal specialty, so you only want to go into it with eyes wide opened.
Okay, so tell me what keeps you going. I mean, haven't talked about this being a brutal specialty. There should be something about it that brings you joy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, serving, as you well know, the what brings us as human beings the most joy is when you're serving other people. It's all about what makes us most godlike is when we are serving others. I always use the example of Jesus Christ, kneeling down with a towel around his waist, washing his disciples' feet. And if you read that passage in John, it's extraordinary because it says Jesus Christ, knowing he was God, decides to do what he did. He went down on his feet, took a towel and started to wash his disciples' feet. So knowing he was God, how do I demonstrate my godness? Is to wash people's feet. So what makes us most godlike is when we are serving other people. That's what it's all about. What brings us most joy as human beings is actually when we are in active service, when we are serving our fellow human beings. I know lots of people think it's being selfish and doing things for me and being number one, but that's actually nonsense. It's completely misguided. What brings humanity most joy is actually when you're serving your fellow man.
I like that. So let's look at your service to your fellow men. And here, men would mean man and woman. So,
indeed.
I'm told you there are a lot of new techniques that you've championed in your field, interventional cardiology. Share some of them with us.
Well, certainly at in South Wales, when I arrived. Angiography, which is going into the heart arteries, was being done from the groin, which had lots of complications. So I pioneered doing it from the radial artery, which is now pretty much standard of care around the world. There were any number of tools that were used at the time in intervention, drillers and what have you, which I certainly, if I didn't pioneer it, I actually, was became a proctor in training other people to do it. But in the world of erectile dysfunction, certainly I pioneered, opening up the arteries to the penile artery, and was certainly the first person to organize an international conference worldwide to promote this intervention to the penile artery. Well, I say penile artery, we call it erectile related arteries, and that's something that I'm certainly very, very proud of, and that was also part of the reason in 2015 University of Cape Coast wanted me to come and actually partly set up a a research and training center. So I was awarded a salus to do professor of intervention there at the time. So yeah, the work on erectile related arteries is something that I pioneered as well. There've been other less glamorous things that I pioneered, and certainly particularly at my time at the University of Wales in Cardiff. Resistant hypertension group, rapid access chest pain service, any number of, using lasers and other drillers that I certainly championed at the time. Yeah.
Okay, you've done a lot of things. Before we wrap it all up, it's important we talk about your secondary school days. You've talked about Infanspem. I have a boy here who went to St. Augustine's College.
Yeah, I really have. I'm very sorry for him. I will. I think I'll pray for him.
Oh, you pray for him?
I'll pray for him. If he went to St. Augustine's, then I do rather feel sorry for him, because he tells me that it was actually his father who kiboshed the ability to go to a proper school, and I have actually advised him to take his dad to court, because I think that's really a lifelong story of pain and anguish. So yeah, I do feel very sorry for him.
Okay, interesting. Now that you're advising him to take his father to court, let me use that to get into your family life. So
yeah.
You're married. How many children do you have?
Yes. So I'm married. We've got 6 in total, and we lead a very. Most of them are grown up now, and we've still got the Eva that I talked about, who is still young and 16, but the others are either at university working or whatever. So yeah, indeed, and I'm a very happily married man. My wife is in the UK. And looking forward to going back to see her on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Where were you born in Ghana?
I was born in Takoradi, and went to Services Primary School. Okay. And we still have a so-called SPOSA group, I mean that was where it all started, really, in Services Primary in Takoradi, and then from there went to Infanspem, and then from Infanspem went to the UK.
Okay. So whenever do you still go to Takoradi when you're in Ghana?
I do. I actually, my only house in Ghana is in Second D specifically, but yeah, I spend there's still a family home in Western Akrom in Takoradi, and my own house in Iskado in Second D. So yeah, I do try and spend a bit of time there when I can, going back to the roots, go back to the old sites, to the haunting grounds, and to have a look, and I enjoy doing that enormously. Takoradi is nice because it's not as crazy as Accra. So I usually, anytime I want to go and hide and chill, that's where I go.
Oh, okay. I like that. Anytime you want to hide and chill, you go to, and you say your house is in Isikado.
Correct.
In Second D.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Tell me, say good morning to Nana Kobnankete. I know he.
Oh yeah, I know him very well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I know him extremely well.
Oh my.
If he's listening, hello Nana, and we will talk shortly.
I said I was saying good morning to him because he would always introduce Isikado as British Second D.
Yeah.
So once you talked about Isikado in Second D, it just took me to Nananketia saying, "Oh, this is British Second D."
Yes.
And what we normally call Second D will be Dutch Second D, which means you speak Fanti too.
Castle. But fishermen, what
okay. And you speak Gantu?
No, my guy is rubbish. I do understand bits, but trying to speak. My dad was, moved from Takoradi before he went to the UK. We're in Accra at Kanda Estates for 3 years. So for 3 years, we're in Accra, and then actually beyond that, for some of my holidays. I was actually here for a good few years. I would say probably over a period of about 6 years, maybe. I did spend a fair bit of time in Accra, so I got to at least understand a bit of Ga. But I never, much to my shame and chagrin, I'd never learnt the language well. But at least I can understand.
Oh, okay, it's good. It's good. At least you can understand. You love football?
Oh, I am a very, very, very proud supporter of Liverpool Football Club. I follow Liverpool very closely, and I still play. Actually, I still play five-a-side football every Tuesday, my knee allowing. But I'm a passionate football player and supporter.
Okay, and when it comes to Ghana, you support?
Well, I used to support Asante Kotoko, but I will have to be honest and say I really haven't followed them more recently. I just haven't, and I've only got so many hours in a day.
Oh, okay. So, at least, we both support Asante Kotoko, but I support Man United.
Oh dear. Yes. Well, we will have to have words after this interview.
We can agree on the Kotoko bit.
Yeah. So it's a bit like my Augustinian friend here. Yes, it's a bit unfortunate.
Anyway, Professor Nicholas Ossei-Gerning, it's great having you join us. This morning here on the Super Morning Show. It's important we celebrate people. Brigadier General Daniel Frimpong sent me a message that says, "Give me my flowers when I can still smell it." It's important we celebrate people while they are still alive. So it's good we are celebrating you and other things you've championed and pioneered. But someone wants me to find out from you your favorite food.
Oh my goodness me! Well, immediately, to my mind will have to be jollof, and with any kind of meat will probably be what I would go for.
Okay, you wouldn't go for fufu?
No, unfortunately not. Actually, when I was a kid, fufu would repeat on me, and because of that, I've never been a fufu guy. I would go for jollof instead, with probably goat meat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Coming from you as a cardiologist, it means we can eat small meat.
Oh yes, definitely. Yes.
Because how about your favorite artist?
Oh dear me, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I must say, I tend to go for the sort of the old guys like Elton John, Lionel Richie, those kind of guys, those sort of old Motown guys. That would probably be. I think that's probably my favorite era. And when I'm playing the piano, if I was kind of playing those pieces of music, I would tend to resort to playing pieces like that.
And in Ghana, which of?
Well, in Ghana, I like people like Joe Metal, and of course I have to mention Ace Ankoma. Otherwise, he's going to. I'm going to be in very, very big trouble. I'm going to be in big trouble. Those are the people I mentioned.
When you mentioned Ace Ankoma, the young man here looked at. He was surprised because he's known as a lawyer.
No, Ace is a very good musician. Ace is an excellent musician, but he probably wouldn't tell you that I taught him his first few chords, so I'm still very proud of that.
I like that. But before we go, just this morning we're talking about violence in our secondary schools. The fact that you have young boys fighting, assaulting one another. What will be your advice to young people, based on what you've achieved and based on all that you've learned throughout your life?
Well, I mean, one of the really good things about being at Mfantsipim was that you learned a few things like discipline, like hard work, like collaborating, to achieve, and we competed. Every time I'd say to people, every time you went to the classroom at 2 a.m. expecting to be the first one there was always someone there before you. So we worked extremely hard, to compete, but we also collaborated. We also worked with each other. So discipline, hard work, collaboration. That's what you need to forget, all the violence and all that. You just need to knuckle down, work hard, collaborate with each other, and you will succeed. If you work hard. I mean, a lot of my colleagues at Infansfam have been extremely successful in whichever field they've entered in, and that's because they were taught in those days, as young boys, that hard work, discipline, and being collaborative was what you needed to be able to achieve. And that's what my advice to them: stop all the violence and all the nonsense, and knuckle down and do some work.
Great. Professor?
Ask him his favorite geometer song.
Nicholas Ossei-Gerning. Well, since you like geometer, which of his songs is your favorite?
Bonone. Yeah,
Bonone,
definitely.
okay.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yes.
Okay, so-
Without a doubt. That is definitely my favorite.
Thank you very, very much. We wish you all the best, and we'll talk again when you're back in Ghana.
Yeah, I look forward to it. It's been a
Great.
real pleasure.